Dave Arnold, your host of Cooking Issues, coming to you live from the heart of Manhattan, Rockefeller Center, New York City, Newsstand Studios, joined as usual with John across from me. How you doing?
Doing good, thanks.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, everything's good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's fine.
All right,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. You got Joe Hazen rocking the panels.
Hey, what's shaking, bacon?
Yeah, nothing much. Every week for a couple weeks, John and I have gone across the street to Chef Sam Yu's new restaurant to see if he's there. And he is. We always miss him by like 5 minutes. We're going to get him on, though.
We will, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what made me think of that just now. It's because
I've been
after
thinking
this
about
show,
I forgot his email.
After this show,
yeah.
we're going to go across the street.
Try again.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We got over there on the West Coast, Nastasia the Hammer Lopez. How you doing?
Okay.
Getting ready to be live over here next week?
Oh, man. I just got a text from Peter that said, lower your standards. And I said, I'm not you.
Wow. Wait, first of all, hold on. For those of you who don't know, it's, old school radio punching bag, Peter Kim, formerly a Museum of Food and Drink.
Not just the radio, Dave.
Yeah. Oh, come on, please. And, you should hear what he says. Anyway, so that's who we're talking about, to Peter. And I'm presuming that Peter is telling Nastasia to lower her standards vis-a-vis her dating life. That's my guess. Am I? Yeah. I mean, because, what other standards are there left to lower? I mean, there's our job. What?
I know. I work at a place here where the staff is incredibly, incredibly good looking, like out of this world good looking.
Yeah. Are you? Why don't you just say where you work? As long as you don't tell the stories, are you not even allowed to say you work there?
No way.
All right, Jesus.
No, I'm not. And so, but they're all not very smart, and I just can't. I just can't. So
no one's saying that you have to marry these people.
Dude, you have to wake up with them and be like, oh.
No, you don't. You absolutely do not have to wake up with them. Absolutely, that is not required. Unless you fall asleep somehow, like before you know what's going on, you absolutely can wake up in a different place or have them wake up in a different place.
I'll think about it. Let's not talk about this. Our audience doesn't
Who
like
brought it up?
talk.
John, did I bring this up? All right.
No, but our audience doesn't like this. Let's move on to food.
Okay. Okay. All right. Got Jackie Molecules. How you doing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm having a new refrigerator delivered any minute. So if I suddenly go on mute, that's why.
Hold on. What were your criteria in getting a refrigerator? First of all, what are the parameters of your refrigerator? Do you have a water line to the refrigerator?
No, listen. I rent like.
Okay, a lot of people have a water line to their refrigerator. Do you have a water line to your refrigerator or not?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
no,
you didn't, what you're telling me by you rent is that you didn't pick this fridge out. Some other idiot picked this fridge
Certainly
out.
did. Correct. That's correct. Yeah. I had no agency in this. My old refrigerator stopped working. I took this as an opportunity to just be like, hey, it's time for a new fridge. And the landlord said, sure.
Is it that 1970s color halfway between green and almond? You know what I'm talking about?
No. It's just like faded. It's like, like off-white, but just because it's old. It was probably nice and white when it was new.
No, I mean the new one. What's the new one? You don't know yet?
Oh, the new one? I don't know. I don't know. This is a surprise.
It's gonna be a Magic Chef. That's the lowest of the low line. I guarantee it's a Magic effing
exactly.
Chef. Yeah.
It's gonna be the cheapest thing they sell at Home Depot.
There used to be an even cheaper than Home Depot situation in Brooklyn where all the landlords would go, and it was like all of the manufacturers dumped their scratch and dents there. And it was like compiled for landlords to go pick up just the trash of the trash, whatever the opposite of the cream, the scrape of the barrel. And they would just scoop these things up and be like, whoa, your fridge is broken? Here you go. You know what I mean? And they put it in.
Here's another broken fridge.
Yeah. Your oven's broke. Here. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, man, it's like worse than a hot plate. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I forget the name of it.
Low expectations. So.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have low expectations because then, not going to be disappointed. It's good. But it is sad to not be able to pick out your fridge. Yeah, it's the Peter Kim theory of refrigerators. But, I wish for you that someday soon you may pick out your own fridge, that you're in a situation in life where you can pick out your own fridge. Yeah. It's nice to have your own fridge.
It really is a dream.
It really is.
A water line, imagine. Yeah.
Well, the water line is useful for ice, but let's be honest. No one, I'm talking to anyone out there, the average person, if I go to their house, I don't drink flat water because it's poison, right? But I do taste the water in your fridge a lot because I want to see whether you've changed the filter this lifetime. And most of the time, you haven't. Your water tastes like mold. Your line is moldy. It's like, tastes like death. It tastes like I'm drinking out of an aquarium. You know what I mean?
Not in my home. Mine's always cleaned every 6 months.
Like that. Like that.
Like that. I got a water line in my fridge.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say who this is, but for those of you that are professionals and you have a carbonator, specifically the McCann Big Mac carbonator, you need to filter that water. Otherwise, your seltzer water tastes like poison. I hate when you go to some place and their seltzer tastes like crappy, unfiltered, chlorinated tap water. Poison. Anyway, point being that if you don't change the filter, it chokes up because it needs like a decent amount of pressure going into the thing. And I didn't realize this, but I know someone who didn't change the filter in a commercial restaurant, and they put a regular home filter on it. They didn't change it for like 8 months. And it choked out so much. If the motor has to run more than like 2-3 minutes before it fills the tank back up, it pops this safety valve. And all of a sudden, then it starts spraying water all over the basement. And it doesn't stop until you turn the water off. Nightmare. So change your filters. In life, change your filters. You know what I mean? Here's the thing. Before you change your water filters, though, make sure you have all the gaskets. Make sure you have all the gaskets. Don't change your water filter and not have a spare gasket in case you can't get that thing back together again because now you don't have any water. You know what I mean?
Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we got Quinn up in the upper left. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Yeah? Nice. All right. So what do you guys got going? Next week we have Chris Young on the same exact time as Nastasia the Hammer Lopez, and she's a little butthurt about it. She wanted some quality time, just the crew, and she's like, now we're going to be talking about thermometers the whole freaking time, and we're not going to, thermometers in the good old days. You know what I mean? Which, like I say, weren't very good. Good old days, not so great. But, right, am I correct on this, Stas, or what?
Yeah.
Like you freaking guys with your talking about technical food. What is this? Technical food podcast? Idiots. That's basically your mental process, as far as I could tell. So, what do you guys got going this week? Anything good? Oh, before I do that, if you're thinking of any questions that you want to ask us, call those questions in to 917-410-1507. That's 917-410-1507. And you have to be a Patreon member. Why don't you tell them why and what?
You go to patreon.com/cooking issues. We got a couple different levels of membership, different perks at every level. You get access to our Discord, get to connect with a community of like-minded folks who think about food in the way that you do. You get discounts with some of the vendors that we work with. You get prioritized questions being answered and a whole bunch of other great things. So check it out, patreon.com/cooking issues.
Nice. All right, what do we got? Now what do we got?
And also pretty... Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Quinn.
Jack.
Not everyone at the same time.
Yeah.
I was going to say, pretty soon, I think maybe today or tomorrow, I'll also be releasing a recipe calculator early for patrons. It's going to be my strawberry sorbet recipe calculator with an option for using clarified juice in the recipe. That's one of the variables you can sort of dial in, because I find when you use the clarified juice as at least some of the recipe, you get a bit of a cleaner flavor and a more intense color.
Yeah, of course, because you're getting rid of that pithy crap, right? But you also have less body.
You need a little bit of, just regular puree as body, but
here's the thing: the ultimate would be the puree without those little freaking seeds. If any of you have ever spun strawberry puree, now I got that Prince song. Anytime I say something like those number of syllables that ends in an A, it's raspberry beret in my head for the rest of the day. The rest of the day is now just raspberry beret. Me. Just going through my head all the time. Thanks, Quinn. Thanks for that. Yeah, you see?
Yeah, no.
Secondhand store.
Yeah.
It's going through your head. Wearing something close to nothing but different from the day before. You got it in your head. You can't get it out. Anywho, if you've ever spun strawberry in a centrifuge, the seeds are so nasty. It's like learning how nasty those little seeds are is on par with learning how disgusting tomato skins taste if all you're eating is tomato skins. Gross. You know what I mean? So yeah, you could, if you really wanted to, Quinn, harvest. You could spin it out, and then harvest just the nice stuff off the top of the puck. We used to do that. Remember that, Stas?
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, especially when we had interns doing it for us. We'd be like, get just a good smooth crap off in the top of the puck and leave all the trash.
I got a question for you. So if a strawberry is called a drupe or a drape?
I'm glad you asked that question. It's a multiple achene.
Yeah, exactly. So each seed is a different fruit?
Yeah, fruitlet, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never got it. I never understood that. But
each one of those little dots is its own Megillah. Yeah. And those little dots aren't pleasant. They're just not. You know what I mean? And that's why the ultimate strawberries are like relatively decent in size, but not bloated with water. Like the really high quality ones. Like,
I guess
What?
Could you also peel the strawberries?
No. What? How you gonna peel it? How you gonna peel a strawberry?
Well, Jose Andres did it.
He did not.
I've seen
Really?
that.
Yeah.
That's such a dumb idea. How about this? We get a potato peeler. Okay, so the way potato peelers work is it's basically a big drum, like a washing machine with sandpaper on the inside, and you throw in the freaking potatoes. You throw in the potatoes, and you boop, 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 and it abrades the peel off. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to fill it with liquid nitrogen. We're going to freeze the freaking strawberries, and we're going to stick it in. We're going to sand off the outside of the freaking strawberry, and then thaw it. No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Peeling a strawberry is an insanity process. It doesn't really have a skin. Basically, you're just doing tournée on a strawberry. And, like, why? First of all, if you can peel a strawberry, it means it wasn't a good strawberry. Am I right? Or you have, like, some sort of knife that the baby Jesus came down and handed you this knife and said, this is for strawberries. It will cut 3 before it needs to be resharpened. I mean, like, please. Am I the only one who thinks this? Why would you peel a strawberry?
Well, is it
Also, 99% of things,
than
most of the flavors
crushing
near the thing. You just want to get rid of the seeds. That's why a centrifuge is for. Especially if you're going to blend it. Can you imagine peeling a strawberry and then blending it? Why not? Okay, Stas, you'll remember this. I hope. I don't know if you were there at the same time. When Nick Wong was there, we once, as a joke, he just opened his restaurant. You got to have him on. Talk about his new restaurant. Anyway, we had all these fennel seeds and we were pressure cooking them. And so someone, it wasn't me, handed Nick a bunch of them and was like, Nick, peel these fennel seeds. And he sat there, started peeling. We're like, what are you, nuts? You can't peel a freaking fennel seed. Same with a strawberry. Peel it. It's not a freaking orange or a banana. Anyway, go ahead. What were you saying?
Me?
No, Quinn had a different idea other than peeling, I hope.
Well, I'm saying, is it that much less ridiculous than pureeing it, centrifuging it, and then just scraping the boundary layer where this puree is smooth, but not the layer that contains the seeds?
First of all, 100%. And second of all, didn't Nastasia and I just tell you that we used to do it?
Well, I used to get other people to do it.
Well, I taught all those fools how to do all of that stuff. Like, I didn't do anything. There was
Wait
nothing.
a minute. Quinn. This is the pot calling the kettle black. You do a ton of food stuff, but your dad's doing it. So you should say your dad's doing it.
Zing. Zingity-doo-dah. Anywho, it is not that hard. The seeds are all against the outside. So you just scrape it, and then you do it in layers. And then as soon as you start getting to the seed portion, you stop. They have a different texture. It's pretty easy. Anyways. And yeah, you should. That's what we're saying. That's all we're saying. Saying, if only you had a centrifuge, Quinn. Oh, wait, you do. Anyway.
I've been using it.
Speaking of which, did you measure that stuff? Like, did you measure the, first of all, what did that poll say? Was there any sort of thing about the solid butter, cream, anti-butter, whatever?
More name suggestions. One of them was Dizzy Cream. I thought that was kind of funny.
Like Dizzy Gillespie, but cream? Like inflated cheeks?
Well, it's because it gets spun around.
Okay. It's not a human.
I don't know, because it gets spun around.
All right.
Like Galvatron?
Oh, is that the ride at Rye Playland? Mm-hmm. You know what? As much as I hate roller coasters, I like that thing. Oh my God, get this. So my cousin James, who's in town for Robbie Nelson, my old manager's wedding, happy wedding, anyway. So he was over at family dinner, and he told a story once that he was in that ride, but not the one in Rye. He was, over in Seattle. And it's always run by, I think every generation there's a long-haired metalhead kid running that thing. You know what I'm saying? For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, you walk into what amounts to a salad spinner that's about, 18 feet across or so, and you put your back against the salad spinner. They play crappy music, they flash lights, and then they drop the floor out, and you're stuck to the side, right?
And you're seatbelted in, right?
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, we didn't used to be. Maybe they do now, but it used to be you could just
do that
you
now.
could even try crawl around.
Yeah, you could try to move around. Yeah. And you lift your head up off the thing, and you're like, wah. Anyway, so because the further in you go, the less force there is, so you get that weird differential acceleration. Anywho, so James told us he was in it once, and the thing drops out, and some kid, right as it speeds up to the, turns around, pukes on the thing, and the guy just turns on the lights while it's spinning and just goes, I hate pukers! So every time I do, I'm thinking of this guy who's waiting for people to puke and then just calling out the puker on the ride. It's a great ride, though.
Yeah.
I've never puked on one.
Same.
Yeah.
I puked in the teacups in Disneyland.
That's a crap ride. That's why. It's scary for a kid, because you put a little kid on it.
Yeah.
How little were you?
This is in Florida. They have this thing called Grad Night, where all the graduating seniors in high school get to go to Disney World. They close Disney World for the evening. I think you arrive at 9 o'clock at night, and then you leave at 2 in the morning. And we. So
you were drunk?
No, we weren't drunk. We were definitely elevated.
Mm-hmm. How the heck do we get into this? Oh, we're talking about centrifuges.
Yep.
That's how we got on it.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, what else we got? Quinn, did you do the butter test? That's how we're starting. Did you do the freaking test? Did you measure it like we wanted?
The milk is still drying out. I just put it back in the oven today, and the butter stalled right away.
What do you mean right away? How fast is right away? Approach. 4 hours or 20 hours?
It did not change over 7 hours.
What oven did you have it in, and what temperature do you have it at?
The Innova, it was 120 for most of the day.
120 Celsius?
Yes. I think what's happening is...
You sure it was 120
the butter's
Celsius?
Separating, and then... Yep.
No, I mean, you do 150, but
so what's happening is...
120 zero?
The butter layer,
zero steam?
The butter layer is... Yes.
Are you positive? It was 120 Celsius with zero steam.
I think Yes.
Because what you're about to say, correct me if I'm wrong, you're going to say the butter forms a layer and prevents evaporation. It can't happen. That can't happen. That can't happen. A bubble that would form under the thing doesn't take that much pressure to form to evaporate. You will slow evaporation, but once it's above the boiling point, it will go. There's just no way around it. You know what I mean? It's not sealed in a bottle. You know what I mean?
Well,
I think you had it set.
Well, I mean, I had the milk in there at the same time.
Oh, maybe that's the problem. That's
a crisp almost.
That's your problem.
So
did you wait for Did you put it in without the milk being in there? Because you're evaporating off of the milk, so that's going to keep the entire oven at 100% humidity, no matter what the humidity thing says. Once that whole oven is steam and you're close to the temperature of water, you're going to stall them out. They need to be done, either you need to go hotter or you need to actually make it dry enough for there to be evaporation from underneath the thing. I bet you the thing never achieved 100. Just use a toaster oven. Just use a toaster oven. Use a Breville or whatever toaster oven. The crappiest oven that leaks.
I don't have a toaster oven.
Do you have any sort of crap holer like normal person oven that just leaks air like a mother that isn't sealed?
I got an air fryer, but I don't even know if it'll fit the tray I'm using.
All right. Well, maybe next week we'll have an answer to this question.
Again, the milk is finishing, and then I will do the butter after.
I see. But, yeah. But do you have fresh butter, or are you going to do the same one you did before?
Well, I mean, again, that hasn't moved. I just stuck it in the fridge.
I don't know. It's poison. It's poison. It's now poison. It's poison. Anyway. All right. Because it could have leaked water, or it could have leaked milk over the time it was made.
It's not going to gain butter.
We want to know.
Yeah, but I have the original weight. It's not going to gain fat.
No, me gusta. No. Anyway, all right. Figure it out. Get your whatever. Get your blah 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 straight. So, what I'm hearing is you took this thing out of the oven way before you took the milk out. You decided to stop that experiment before you stopped the milk experiment.
No, I left it in the whole time, but it didn't change.
Ever.
No.
Yes, an error has occurred. Okay. I was hoping to get those numbers. I want those numbers. You know what I'm saying? I want those butter numbers.
Again, I should have the numbers on the milk soon because it kept going down, so I had to stop it for the night, and then it's in the oven now.
Here's an idea: start it in the morning. Have it be the first thing you do.
I just did.
No, I meant in general, so that you can run it in one day. You're telling me it took 8 hours to dry? That's crazy. That's crazy talk. Go higher temperature, I guess, next time. Was it brown?
First thing in the morning. Relatively early.
Mm-hmm. Was the water?
Yeah, it's brown.
Was the milk solids brown?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait for the milk or the butter?
Either. The reason we're saying this is that we were worried that we're going to, destroy some of the, cause a little bit of destruction of the molecules, so lose extra weight over and above the water weight if the things get too brown. For instance, if you char them, which is the reason why Quinn has chosen a relatively low temperature. This is what we discussed. Anyway, but it didn't get too brown, right?
I mean, it's pretty brown, but I don't it's already happened. So I've turned the temperature down today to try and have strictly dehydration and not like other reactions.
Yeah.
But,
all right. What else we got going on? Anyone else got some good stuff?
There was a good debate on the Discord about bagels, whether they should be toasted or not, and what you order.
And did anyone from New York say they should be toasted?
Definitely in the never. I'm in the never. No, that's
ding.
Mercifully, I don't think so. Most people from New York, because I'm a New Yorker, and you don't get it toasted.
You toast. You toast bad bagels and old bagels. These are the two bagels you toast, and you don't toast them. You use the bagel setting where you're only browning the cut side.
Yep.
There are very clear rules on this. You know what I mean? It's not really. Someone's just trying to troll us on the Discord because there's very obvious rules about how bagels work, right? A bagel should not look like a loaf of bread. It should look like a bagel, first of all, right? And then you eat it. What you do with a bagel is you eat it. You cut it in half if you want. You put crap on it, and then you put it into your face. You don't toast it, right? Then, if you bought too many, then you toast it. Or if, for whatever reason, you have...
Freeze them.
Freeze them. I do that, too.
Yeah, freeze them. Frozen. Yeah, it's great.
Slice before you freeze.
Absolutely.
Slice before you freeze.
What about a bialy?
Bialy, eat right away. Don't keep it. Don't do anything. Just eat that. Yeah. Right. Unless you run home and throw it in the freezer instantly in like a thin layer, and then you can By the way, speaking of this, I had this issue. So for those of you that I use Sonoran white wheat. By the way, they're out of stock. There's this one farm. I forget the name of it. In I think it's in Arizona or New Mexico, and it's owned by a Native American family, and they sell to Breadtopia. They don't sell to normal folks, and so I buy it then from Breadtopia, and it really for tortillas is just great. It's a super super hard wheat that smells amazing. It smells like cereal when you put like water in it. It gets this amazing aroma. It grinds really fine. It has very poor gluten but a lot of protein. And so you can make a really, really, really wet like dough, almost like masa wet, like 78% hydration when you grind with it, and still like roll it out. And so, we've been doing tortillas and like getting like, we're at like 75% full balloons. So like when you're making the tortillas, you roll them out, you pan them both sides, put them over a fire, chapati style, and they balloon up. You know what I mean? So we're at like 75%, I would say, full balloons. Always puff, but 75% full balloons. And then we brush butter on them in between because, anyway, so everyone says you can't reheat these, but the Anova can actually reheat these. So like what you do is you just, you put a little piece of parchment in between each one, you freeze them in a zippies, like with parchment separating, and then they pop apart. And then steam it for like, don't reheat it because you've actually griddled. These aren't the flour tortillas you get in the supermarket that are like par cooked that you need to like, these are cooked already. So just steam them a little bit and they come right back. Great. Anyway, how are we getting on steaming?
What's your flour of choice in a flour tortilla?
My what of choice?
Flour of choice.
The Sonora White. I grind it. What?
No fat.
Oh, fat.
Sorry. I have a lot of I have a lot of vegetarians, so I typically use olive oil. Right. I mean, like I've done lard. Lard's delicious. I don't really think it makes it any better. I forget what percentage of oil I use. It's not high. I keep the salt lower than I do for bread, like just under 2% or something like that, which is higher than most people use in tortillas. But whatever, I like salt. I forget what the oil percentage is, and I don't use hot water, even though most people do, because I grind my flour so fine. You know what I mean? As fine as it can. So it's just it doesn't need that hot water to like kind of like up the hydration. And I don't even really know why they're using hot water there, because most people's hot water in the tortillas isn't hot enough to really gelatinize things. And it's also I don't think getting the lard in is going to be a problem at the temperatures people are using, but I don't know why. Anyway,
downstairs is a new restaurant that just opened up. It's serving masala dosas.
Oh, yeah?
They're delicious.
Really?
Yeah, they're delicious. I was so happily surprised.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. Speaking of...
They're making them down there?
They're making them down there,
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Go try.
But how do we get talking about tortillas? What the heck?
You were just talking about you're buying the flour from the folks down in New Mexico.
Yeah, but I don't remember why I was talking about that.
Well, the
supposed to be a no tangent Tuesday.
The wheat ran out of stock.
Yeah, that's not why I was talking about. Anyway, so, by the way, my ambergris imitation has not come yet. Hopefully it'll come next week. Maybe we can make a drink for Nastasia to give the stink face to, because I have a feeling it's going to taste gross.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cause
nothing about it sounds appetizing.
Well, are you gonna dilute it properly?
I'm going to try to dilute my fake whale poop properly. But like, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah.
I looked it up. It looks like a stone on the beach.
Yeah.
I couldn't really tell. I wouldn't, I might have seen one. You
I
never
mean,
know.
they're very valuable if you pick one up.
But they smell.
Well, they smell like the sea by the time you get them,
got
hopefully. They smell like poop when they come out of the animal because it's poop. Yeah. And then, it washes around in the sea, and the fatty deposits, like the most of the poop stuff washes out of it. And then they end up on the beach. Someone, I think I was reading on the internet last week when I was looking at this, found one that weighed like 100 pounds. It's worth like $1 million or something crazy.
What about, there's also reading about the whale vomit as well?
I think a lot of people think that they want to say that ambergris is vomited up because they don't want to sell poop, but I'm pretty sure it's poop. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure it comes out the other end. Although, like a whale is pretty much like a big... Like just a big swimming aquarium anyway, right? Yeah. I mean, in all the movies, Jonah gets swallowed, takes a long time, spits him back up, fine. Maybe there's just nothing in there between the beginning pipe and the end pipe.
Is there a doctor in the fish?
Yeah, it's like getting around. Anyways, all right. I'm going to do some questions, and I'm going to talk about the stuff I cooked this week. Wait, John, you keep on trying to say something, and you don't.
Yeah, well, you told me to bring this up last week. What's the weirdest thing anyone's been tipped with?
Oh. Yeah.
So about a year ago at Temperance, this gentleman from the street came in, ordered 2 beers, went downstairs to the bathroom for like 10 or 15 minutes, and came back up and left. And when he left, he tipped my bartender with crack rocks right after having spent 10 to 15 minutes smoking crack in the bathroom. Yep.
You know what? It's generous for. I mean, like that's like real appreciation because like
its own currency.
Sharing it, yeah.
Because I mean, if you're in the basement smoking crack, you need the crack. You're not like and so you're giving your basically this thing that you need.
It's true.
To you or to to your bar person.
I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
I tipped somebody in fortune cookie fortunes.
Oh man, you must have hated them.
No, they're really good ones. They're ones I collected and I had no money. I was like, dude, I only have fortunes. And it's like, well, then give me a really good one.
Okay. Because like I'm trying to imagine a scenario where you have a whole bunch of fortunes in your pocket but not money.
Well, I had money enough to buy whatever cocktail or beer it was, but I didn't have enough to leave that I, mistakenly. Yeah.
My wife Jen,
man.
my wife Jen once got a Bible verse that said a tip for you. Yeah, they gave her a Bible verse.
Oh,
Yeah, she said she said it was like a table like full of like really messy kids like dropping crud everywhere. And then when they left, they just left that piece of paper, a tip for you. Believe in Jesus. Here's a Bible verse. It's like, you know what? You can believe in Jesus and leave me a tip.
Yeah.
These are not mutually exclusive.
True.
You could even leave the Bible verse and money. You know what I mean? Fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The money is required. Bible verse extra. An extra Philip. You know what I mean? On top of the money that you're supposed to leave.
Yeah.
What about you, Stas? You get any weird tips ever?
No, none that I can think of right now.
Yeah, I've only ever worked in basements or where I'm not allowed
service
to.
industry one.
Yeah, all right. What do you got?
So once I was DJing, it was like a hotel pool event. So it was during the day, and this guy comes in looking like a 70s pimp or something, right? And
So came in looking awesome.
He comes in and he looking awesome, yeah. And he has 8 women with him, something insane. It was just really silly for a daytime pool party, but at a hotel. He's there for 30 minutes, and he comes up to me, and he's like, "My man, you're playing some great music. Let me give you something." And he hands me a stack of freshly minted $2 bills.
Ooh.
And I was like, "What?"
Damn.
and he just looked at me and said, "Yeah, that's right," and then walked out. And I never knew what to make of that.
Strong. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a cool dude.
Yeah.
That's a cool dude.
It's a cool dude.
Yeah. You know what? People who listen who have had why don't you write in and let us know some bizarre tips you've gotten? We'll read some stuff off. That could be fun.
Could be fun, yeah.
Some bizarre tips, and then we can discuss.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, all right, I didn't get the ambergris yet. Bruce J says, okay, now I don't know this. Are any of you guys familiar with Munya? Andean mint? Munya?
No.
Not me. No. You, Stas?
No.
No, yeah, me neither. Anyway, so Bruce J is looking for Andean mint, a.k.a. Munya, seeds to grow. I spent some time in Peru and really enjoyed this variety of mint. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and the growing conditions between the high steppe valleys and Pacific Northwest are pretty similar. I've already successfully propagated several herbs from that area. Do you know where I could get specialty culinary seeds or something along those lines? I've scoured the internets with no success. There's a wonderful nursery in Portland, One Green World, specializing in weird plants, but so far haven't had any luck with Munya. Any leads would be helpful. Well, the only one I know is out of Old Weathersfield is Baker's Creek Seeds, and they're great, and you should visit them. But I looked through their online. I looked through all of their mint varieties, and they didn't have it. And then I looked Andean, and they didn't have it. And then I looked Munya, and they didn't have it. And then I checked the the Latin name, and they didn't have it. So that's a crap out. But I would call them because they're connected with the Seed Saver Weasels, and they can kind of get that going. The other thing is if you can find it anywhere, you could probably propagate it from a cutting, right? Even though it's kind of bushy, you said. It's bushy. It's a bushier mint. It's not like I think it might be a perennial. But my point is that I crapped out there, but Baker Creek is great and worth a stop if you're ever... By the way, Old Weathersfield, even though it's very close to Hartford, is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very charming.
Yeah. Unlike Hartford.
Yeah.
I mean, Hartford is like, you know what Hartford has going for it? It's not Stamford. Stamford's got the ugliest buildings in all of Connecticut, maybe all of the world.
Bridgeport is...
Bridgeport's got some great old factory buildings.
True.
Like Bridgeport has like had a huge economic downturn for the past 40, 50 years, and like, it has a lot of problems, but it's got some good bones. You know what I mean?
Good record stores in Bridgeport.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas Stamford is an unmitigated architectural disaster. It's just like it's just a horror show. You know what I mean? Like the Purdue, the old Purdue headquarters, which we call the Upside Down Murder Castle. They have that fake, the Marriott that looks like it's a tower from an airport overlooking the train station, which looks like
a rotating restaurant in there.
Is it rotating?
Not anymore.
Yeah, no, it's just sitting there, right? The train station that it overlooks looks like someone just took a bunch of tubes and threw them on the ground. I mean, the whole thing is trash. Where Nastasia lived was nice in Stamford, but Stas, even you had to admit that downtown is garbs.
I don't miss it. That was really bad. Yeah.
Yeah, ugly. I mean, where you were was very nice, but Japan Peninsula. Yeah. Anyway, how the hell did we get on that? All right. Patrick C. writes in, a very basic question, but I can't remember it being addressed. What percentage salt do you recommend for pasta cooking water? I've been using Diamond Crystal Kosher salt forever for all cooking uses, including salting my water, more or less by eyeballing it. I like Katie Parla's line that pasta water should taste like well-seasoned soup, not seawater. Although, however, with the recent price trebling in Diamond Crystal, by the way, Diamond Crystal has gone way up, but if you search out places that sell food service packages, the food service packages have gone up as well, but not nearly as much as the home
retail stuff.
So if you live in New York City, in Manhattan, in downtown specifically, the Essex Street Market, one of the fruit vendors there sells them in the not-for-resale packages. They buy the food service ones and sell the, and so like, whereas like the tiny box now is like $13 at my local supermarket. The food service one at Essex is like $10 for the normal size box. Anyway, it is a nightmare. I don't know why they think that. I mean, they can do this. It makes me angry. Anyway, however, with the recent price trebling in Diamond Crystal, I've been thinking of using another cheaper salt for pasta water. I'm with you. I only use Diamond now for things where my hand is important. If my hand is not important, or pickling, right? Or a place where I need like a non-iodized salt. But in my pasta water now, I just pour in like, the whatever comes in that weird round.
Morton's. Rains it pours.
Not even off-brand. Like, when it rains, you dead. You know what I mean? It's just like, the cheapest like salt in one of those little weird like oatmeal containers. You know what I'm talking about? How did they come up with this as a salt container? This round tube with the little metal thing that every once in a while gets stuck under your fingernail and you're like, you know what I mean? Anyway, I also hate salt boxes. Does anyone like the salt boxes? It's either too small or it's ripped open and it's flapping everywhere. They suck, right? They're terrible.
Yeah.
Salt boxes.
I like the French ones, the small cylinder ones where you still get your fingernails.
Like La Baleine?
You fancy weasels. You fancy weasels.
It's like very damp salt. Love it.
Anyway. So back to this. To be specific, for box pasta cooked at home, water used once. I remove it with tongs and skimmers and toss the sauce over heat. I make my water pretty salty. I would say seawater salty. What about you, Stas? You're the pasta expert. What's your salt feeling?
Mark Ladner used to say that when you taste the pasta water before you put the pasta in, it should taste like the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they always used to say. I mean, like, but look, I guess the problem is that if you way over salt it, here's the issue, right? If you turn your water on and you put the salt in and you walk away, you do a bunch of other stuff, you wait for it to come to the boil, it's boiling violently. Sometimes your mind gets away from you and then it boils down and then it gets super salty. Sometimes it will get salty enough to actually oversalt the pasta. I mean, it has happened, right? But it's very rare. Like, unless you're like over salting your sauce and hoping to make up for it. This is why everything should just taste correct all the time. You know what I mean? Don't count on one thing to fix something else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's not going to compensate for it.
Yeah.
I would also say I tweak the salt level of the water for certain applications. Like if I know that I'm gonna need a lot of pasta water to like build the sauce. Like,
Yeah, I very rarely do that.
like you don't need a lot of pasta water, but like
Yeah, I don't
like
use it.
carbonara, I'll dial down the salt in the water a bit because everything is very, very salty.
What do you do at the restaurant, John? Because you're not using the water from that, right? Because it's all par done. You used to do carbonara, right?
Used to. We used to use just a little bit of it to thin out the yolk and cheese mixture, but we didn't salt the water.
At all?
No, because
Because it boils forever.
it boils forever. But even, I mean, keep topping it off. But once you start ladling it into the cheese, guanciale, and all that stuff, it would just get way too salty.
Yeah.
Does salt water boil faster than regular water?
No, it just concentrates. So, like,
But there's no different boiling point.
I mean, slightly.
Okay.
Slightly.
I also did have to not salt to be able to make things consistent with some of the people in my kitchen who were learning, like how to cook and things like that. And I didn't trust their palate with salt. So,
Yeah. That makes sense because also, if you can't trust everyone to test before it goes out, you could send something one way or the other that's just a nightmare.
yeah.
What would you prefer? I would prefer undersalted than oversalted.
Yeah,
I
I
guess.
think so too.
But
Under anything, because then you can always add more to it or you can cook it a little longer.
yeah, but it's a nightmare
yeah.
because people don't ask for salt.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, you're a bad cook.
Yeah.
And then they don't ask for salt. And I think there's a huge chunk of people that don't even know that what's missing is salt. They know it doesn't have flavor, but they
Yeah.
don't know that it's missing salt. Same thing with sugar. When you have fruits and you're doing like purees and drinks, they'll think that you just doesn't have flavor. They don't know that like a little bit of sugar is going to pop the flavor. Why would they know that? They're not a cook. You know what I mean? They're just eating. They're paying you to figure this out. Anyway. All right. All right, we got some wheat. We got some wheat questions, Stas. So you want me to do the wheat questions, and I'll do what I cooked over the last weekend? All right, Simon. For grinding wheat at home, some of the low-cost, small-scale flour mills are pretty great. What's the situation for people? Oh, it's not a wheat question. Oh, thank goodness. Because I have a bunch of wheat stuff. What's the situation for people who want to make chocolate at home? Are there similarly priced options that do a good job there, or is homemade chocolate just never going to be any good? I mean, I think you can get okay results using the wet grinders. I've never owned a chocolate-specific one, but I've owned three or four. I've owned 3 or 4 regular wet grinders. Yeah, go ahead. We used to use them at the school.
I have a lot of thoughts on this as well.
We used to use them at the school all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't have, like, the cheapest one. I've seen that there are, like, $100 ones. So, but I have, like, I think mine was $500.
Oh, that's a lot,
Well, that's
dude.
more about the size.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
They're all the same.
It was actually one of the first specialty equipment I got.
I've used, like I say, like 3 or 4 different ones at least, and they're all basically the same. I mean, the only choice that I think might matter are the stones shaped like cones or are the stones shaped like cylinders, right? It's stones that rotate on another stone, right? And it's not the same as your standard. The way we used to do it is that we would put whatever you do for the nibs to roast them, that's up between you and your emotions. And then we would put them through a champion, and you put it through a champion a couple of times once, or it gets warmish, and that warmishness from the champion starts to melt out a little bit. And then you throw it into the wet grinder, and you let it go, and you add the other stuff into it, and you just go for a long time. You have to do it a lot longer than you would commercially. And then the thing is, you lift it, you drop it, you lift it, you drop it, you lift it, you drop it till you get the aromas that you want. And I don't know how long you do, Quinn, but we used to do anywhere between 24 and I think did we ever do 72? It's usually like a 24 to 48 sitch for us, but I don't know. What do you do?
Yeah, I think I've done 24 with just like the nibs and then maybe a little of the added cocoa butter. And then if I ever am adding like a sugar or another adjunct, I'll add that, after all that process and give it a few more hours. But I think it's more about, do you want to make something that you literally can't buy in terms of like just trying, different flavor profiles or ingredients. Because it's not about, is it going to be like better than Calabo or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, Valrhona, I think. Valrhona is God's commercial chocolate to me. The big names, Valrhona. They're
great.
Yeah.
Super consistent.
Super awesome. But the equipment that any of us can get is nowhere near as precise or as anything as the stuff that those folks use. And plus, although it used to be, I think I've told this story before, but Jacques Therese, when he opened up his chocolate place, he was talking to us at the French Culinary back when that still existed, and he said, one of the problems is that it's very hard, even for me at the level that I'm doing it, to source the beans, the beans that I want. He's like, because these big buyers they have control over like some of the best growers. They get the best stock, and so it's really hard for me to get kind of what I need. I think some of that might have changed because there's such a huge number of people wanting to make like good chocolate on their own. Is similar to the way coffee is now. It didn't used to be. It used to be harder to get good coffee, green. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I haven't made it in a number of years. The chocolate machine was the Santha was the brand everyone used back in the day. And I made the thing that was everyone hated the most of anything that I've ever done at the French Culinary, the ketchup chocolate. We talked about the ketchup chocolate on the air. So to me...
Yeah, but it's been a while.
Yeah, to me, no one could get this. To me, what I wanted was to decouple the texture of tempered chocolate, i.e., the snap, and the melt, right? That and the feeling in your mouth of chocolate. Mm-hmm. I wanted to decouple that from chocolate, the flavor. And so the issue is that you can't add any moisture at all. It needs to be dry, right? So it's like all the stuff needs to be like oil and dry based, period. And so I was like, what flavors can we do that are all dry? So ketchup. So it was like vinegar powder. I think we used probably some, I forget if we used milk powder. We used tomato powder, vinegar powder, like all the spices, and put it in and made ketchup, like texture of chocolate, flavor of ketchup, and universally despised.
Yeah, it sounds horrible.
Was it de-aromatized cocoa butter?
Of course. What do I look like? Idiot? Yes, of course. Yes. I didn't want it to smell like chocolate. There was not one thing about this other than the texture that said chocolate, right? Like there's not one thing. It was red and it tasted of ketchup. Not a good ketchup, not a Heinz, but it tasted like, a Budge brand ketchup. But it had the texture of chocolate, and you could dip it in things and then have like a ketchup shell that broke and melted like chocolate, but no one liked it. Like everyone hated it. Not only did they hate it, they conceptually hated it. Like they kept on saying this doesn't taste like chocolate, and I was like, that's the idea. Now I don't know whether it was just branding or whether it was actually just also awful or what. I was excited by the technique of being able to create this kind of new category of flavored devices. But maybe I shouldn't have called them chocolate. Maybe I should have just called them like ketchup shell.
Maybe you went a bridge. Maybe you just went a bridge too far. Because I remember a few years ago, Francisco Magoya did something similar, but it was just freeze-dried fruit powder. Yeah, well, there was a chocolate texture shell.
Late to the party. But
yeah.
We took like chicken cubes and dipped them in, and so we had like chicken cubes with a ketchup shell. I think we might have done like potatoes with a ketchup shell. People hated it.
Yeah.
Just hated it. Nightmare. All right. But Simon, I wouldn't worry about it. All those wet grinders, they pretty much work similarly. I guess, like Quinn says, the size is different. They may have different guarantees on them. One thing I will say is that if you get one, don't only make chocolate. Maybe only make chocolate if you're going to be a purist about it, because maybe the stones get poisoned. But grind some mustard. They're great for mustard. Make mustard with it, and make idli, which is what they were designed to do. You know what I mean? Get some fenugreek, get some, of the par cooked rice, ferment them out, grind them, make some idlis or dosas with it, because those things out of the machine are fantastic. All right. Elliot wrote in last week about his, what?
I think also obviously nut paste and stuff is great for the grinder.
Yeah, terrible word. Great, good product. Nut paste. But most of the time when we would do the nut paste, we would put them through a champion first or blend them. What these things aren't good at is taking things all the way from a whole thing down to a paste. They're good at taking something that's already ground and grinding it finer. Or if it's wet, if they're soft, they're not good at. Very few things are good at taking things all the way from the unground state to a fine powder. All right. Elliot wrote in about his Como Mio. He's having problems. Remember this? He's having problems with not getting a consistent grind and getting messed up. And so I made a voice recording. Let me see if I can get it up here. A voice memo of mine. All right, here we go. So after listening, before last week's show, I tried cranking my flour mill past the chirping point while it was milling, and it smeared all over it and was very hot to the touch, guessing 110 Fahrenheit. The smear was quite severely asymmetrical on both sides. But listen, you mentioned here, I can't read the whole thing because I got to answer your question, but everyone says that hot flour is bad. I think they're just wrong. I think they're wrong. Anyone who's listening to me, try to find some data where the temperature of the flour actually matters. Somebody try to get me some data where the temperature of the flour has any effect in a negative way. In fact, the opposite sometimes is true. I do not worry about the temperature of my flours. If the temperature of the flour gets too hot, back in the old days when they were grinding in the 1800s on these wheels, they would, before they had the two-step process, back when they were doing single flat milling, they would grind it until they would start steaming, and then they would back them off, right? So the problem with grinding too hot is that the moisture flashes out and it actually clogs up. That's what happens when it gets too hot. But it doesn't actually hurt the flour. It increases your starch damage, right? But I am against this idea that your flour needs to be cold for it to be good, and I have not seen any data that shows me that is in fact the case. And for things like chapati, tortillas, the opposite is the case. The hotter that damn thing is, the better. Anyway, so here's what it should sound like grinding hard wheat. Ready? Let me see. Is this it?
All right, here we go. On.
That's the chirp.
To that noise.
And then that's what it should sound like. And then for soft wheat, it should sound like this.
Here is soft wheat.
See, it sounds a little softer, and then you back off when it's going. So that's what it should sound like when it's working. Now, there are two things that you need to... There are two things you need to worry about, right? One is, are your stones flat, right? Are they physically flat? And the second thing is, are they in tram? So the difference between that is, imagine you can have two stones that are perfectly flat, but one is tilted, right? That's not in tram, right? And that's why they float the stones, as opposed to like some of the good coffee mills where they're like perfectly moving them up and down, because the tram, whether it's flat compared to the other stone, is going to get fixed by the wheat or the grains as they go in. You don't really need to worry about it. That's why they need to float. But if your stones are not flat, in other words, if it has high spots or low spots, then you can't fix that by floating, right? So my guess is with your asymmetrical smearing, that maybe the stones aren't fully broken in or they're not flat yet. And I don't know if the mill is new. I also noticed you sent me pictures that you have the sifter that the Como people did. And Quinn, we can put this up. The sifter, as it comes from the factory, has some good aspects of design, but it itself is very, very flawed. You said you had a low yield out of it on a 60 mesh. You need to sift for a long, long time, first of all. Maybe I'll do a thing on it. But I have the parts that you can print out to turn that sifter into something that's a lot more useful. Get this, John. There's a giant tube that you put over your mill. You have to fill it with flour, but the tube isn't attached to the thing. So if you pick it up by mistake,
trouble.
Flour everywhere. And it's not like it's hard to get out. It just pops out, and then like they don't have gaskets, so it leaks. So the first thing I did when I got my sifter, completely modified it. I have all the parts. I can, if anyone wants it, if who's on the Patreon, and has access to a 3D printer, I can give you all of the files for how to turn it into something, and turn the Como Mio sifter into something more reasonable. Anyway, maybe we'll do a video on it. All right, so here's what I did last week. So speaking of flour, I've always wanted to make pumpernickel ever since I was at the French Culinary Institute, and they said, Hans, the bread guy, the first bread guy who was there, I was like, oh, pumpernickel. He's like, oh, the pumpernickel you eat is fake. It's all garbage. He's like, real pumpernickel has only rye and water, and you cook it for 24 hours. And it's got no coloring, no nothing. You cook it. So I tried it, right? And it was kind of a nightmare. It tastes okay, but like I ground it, I ground it too fine, and it came out of the dough. Here's how you make it: you take rye, you grind it, and then you scald it with an equal amount of water, like boiling water and the rye. You let it sit overnight, and so you're trying to get the amylases that are in the rye to start breaking it down, making sugar, right? Then, and plus it soaks into the ground rye. Then you add a little more of that ground rye to it, and the dough this is now 24 hours later because you let it sit, right? The dough is like modeling clay. It's like the stiffest thing, even though it's at 70% hydration, it's the stiffest dough I've ever worked with in my life. You know what I mean? Then you pack it into a Pullman loaf and you seal it. And I put it in the Anova and cooked it at, I put it up to 300 for a little bit to get it started, and then put it down to, right at 100 Celsius at, 212, 100% steam, totally covered for 24 hours. My old Anova, because I have the first gen, was leaking everywhere. I got in huge trouble with everyone at the home front because there was water all over the floor because from the thing leaking out. But I cooked it for 24 hours, and then you have to let it chill for another 48 hours. Right? I tried slicing it 24 hours after, and it was still too gummy. So I let it sit for 48 hours. And then the standard Pullman loaf, get this, I have the first knife blister I've had in like 2 decades from slicing this, because this one loaf of bread, you have to slice it into 80-something slices because you have to slice this stuff so thin. But there it is, John, with some mountain cheese. You can break it off, try it out, see what you think.
Do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's too dense even for it.
It is dense.
I mean, it's meant to be dense. Give him some cheese. You can't have it without cheese.
We got to try first without the cheese.
Jeez Louise.
See what it is and then try it with the cheese.
No sugar in that, though. That's just the rye. It's just rye and water. Rye and water and a little bit of salt. All right. So then also I have for you guys...
Is there yeast?
No yeast. Then I have another thing. So if you go online, you can get Zerby's Snacks, and they make the lard-fried potato chips. They're one of the few people who makes lard-fried potato chips, so I have some lard-fried potato chips for you to try. But they also make the rare style of butter pretzel that I enjoy in a way that you guys can get on the internet, because the other ones that I get, you can't get on the internet. So these are the only style of pretzel with fat in it that I appreciate. They're real big and crunchy and puffy. So what's the name on that one? Because it's not the one I'm used to. Rocky Road Bakery out of Pennsylvania. And Zerby, what do you think of the lard chips? And they use local Pennsylvania potatoes as well. So, money in the bank. I thought for some reason that Nastasia might have been here today, but it's not like she cares about pretzels or whatever. I don't know. So, what do you think of the rye bread?
I like it.
I gotta try it again someday.
Yeah.
But it's just such an investment in time. Apparently, the bakery in Westphalia, this is Westphalian Pumpernickel. Apparently, the bakery in Westphalia has been doing it since like 1550. You know what I mean? And but I need the trick of cooking bread in like mason jars that the modernist people talked about a lot. I think that the easiest way to do this is, if you have an induction freak or a control freak, is to do this pumpernickel in mason jars, like in a pressure cooker, but keeping it below the pressure stage, just keeping it at that. And then it's easy to keep that control freak going with no leaking for like 20, and then you can do smaller quantities. That's what I'm going to try from now on, because this was, I think, 4 kilos. It was the heaviest thing it was the heaviest loaf of bread.
Yeah. I mean,
ever.
It's dense.
Yeah, oh my God. Like this tiny little piece is that's lunch right there.
Yeah.
Freaking pumpernickel. Anyway, cooking issues.